So San Diego Comic-Con was last week, and unfortunately I wasn't able to make a video last week because of time and life. But this week I still wanted to do the same video I was going to do last week because this news is just so big and so incomprehensible that it deserves its own video, and I'm still thinking about it. So let's dive into the elephant in the room. During San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel Studios and Disney, of course, had their big panel where they were talking about the future of the MCU and the various projects they have coming out over the next year or two. That included first looks at things like Captain America Brave New World, which of course we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. We also got some details on the Thunderbolts movie, which I think is sounding and shaping up to be quite cool. And we also got our first official look at some elements of the Fantastic Four, The First Steps, which I think is looking amazing. I'm really excited for this Fantastic Four movie. But with all that said, all of that news and all of that speculation for these other movies was kind of pushed out the window when Marvel and Kevin Feige decided to start talking about the Avengers. Now, there's been rumors over the last few weeks about the directors of Avengers 5, because of course it was originally going to be helmed by the Shang-Chi director of Destin Daniel Cretton, but he dropped out a while ago, and there's been just this up and down in regards to who's actually going to take over and also who's going to direct Secret Wars. We've not had a director for Secret Wars tapped at any point. Now, the rumor over the last few weeks is that Joe and Anthony Russo were going to be returning to the MCU to direct both of these Avengers movies, and it was kind of this rumor that, seemed safe. But here at Comic-Con, they brought them out. They brought out the Russos and said, yep, they are directing Avengers 5 and Avengers Secret Wars. And for me personally, just to give my quick thoughts on that, I'm really happy the Russos are back. Like, at the end of the day, say what you want about the Russos and, their kind of output of work outside of the MCU, post-Endgame, they are fantastic directors when it comes to the MCU and to the Avengers movies, when even before that, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, these are all top tier MCU movies, and if you ask people what their top 5 MCU movies are, I guarantee you at least 2 of them are directed by the Russos. So with that in mind, the Russos coming back, sure, why not? They clearly want to do it, they clearly have this want and need to do it, and they can do it. They've proven themselves multiple times. So the Russos coming back to direct 5 and 6, this is only good news in my opinion. I do think it would have been cool to get a new director to do these Avengers movies. I think Destin Daniel Cretton was a really awesome choice. But at the same time, if you're not getting anybody, if nobody wants to do it, just get the Russos back. And that's what they've done. So I can't complain about that. They also then announced the title for Avengers 5. Of course, we did find out a little while ago that Marvel were moving away from the Kang storyline. We're dropping Kang, obviously dropping Jonathan Majors and all that stuff. And we found out the official title of this movie is Avengers Doomsday. Now, I love this title. I think it's so good. I think it's so much better than the original Kang Dynasty title, because for me, the Kang Dynasty, I just felt like that title was never going to catch on. I feel like it didn't have that kind of rolling off the tongue that some of the other Avengers movies have that make them so memorable, but Doomsday absolutely does have that, in my opinion. I think Avengers Doomsday is a name that's going to stick in people's heads. I think general audiences, when they see that, they're going to just say Doomsday in the same way they say something like Endgame, and people are going to know what they mean. So Doomsday, fantastic title, but of course, with the name like Doomsday, that leads us to talk about a certain someone coming into the MCU. So the elephant in the room, which I mentioned at the very beginning, was of course the official casting of Doctor Doom in the MCU, that being Mr. Robert Downey Jr. Now, this has created this absolute cataclysm of controversy online, and it's very 50-50. Some people are really loving this news and thinking it's really exciting, and there are other people who are hating it. I just want to come in and say my 10 piece about it, and also discuss both the positives and the negatives of Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Iron Man, and how I feel about it overall. Now, because I like to consider myself a bit more of a positive person, I will start with the negatives. The main criticism you will see about Robert Downey Jr.'s casting as Doctor Doom is that this is a desperate move from Marvel, and I can't disagree. This is Marvel in desperation trying to claw back any kind of goodwill they can get. As it's said in the most recent Deadpool movie, the MCU is at a low point. Marvel knows that, and they are trying to do everything they can to try and gain back the trust of not only fans, but general audiences who have not been turning up for their movies. And I think one of the best ways that they felt they could have done that is by bringing back what is arguably the MCU's biggest star. Robert Downey Jr., he started the MCU. Without Iron Man, we wouldn't have the MCU. So it makes so much sense that, you know, the reason people will come back to the cinema to watch these movies is if they're coming back to see Robert Downey Jr. Mix in the fact that the Russos are coming back to direct, who, of course, if you just put all over the marketing that, oh, the guys who directed Infinity War and Endgame, people are going to be like, awesome, love those movies, let's go see these new ones. So people are saying it's desperate. It is. This is absolutely a desperation move. I feel like this is almost a plan B, maybe even a plan C sort of thing, where they've gone, what can we do? What can we do? Just chuck Robert all the money. Like, just chuck anything he wants. I guarantee you, like, Marvel Studios just went up to Robert Downey Jr. and were just like, name your price. And they, like, God knows how much money he's going to be paid for these two Avengers movies. Because it has been said he's going to be in both Doomsday and Secret Wars. So God knows how much money he's going to get paid for this. Now, I will admit and agree that for me personally, like, this does feel like a little bit of a waste of Doctor Doom. Like, Doctor Doom is one of the biggest main villains in all of Marvel. And I feel like chucking him into an Avengers movie as his kind of first appearance, and it being Robert Downey Jr. as Doom, feels really strange. Like, for me, I was fully expecting Doctor Doom to show up in the MCU, but as a part of the Fantastic Four. I thought he was going to be in the Fantastic Four movies, like, maybe not necessarily in this first one that we're getting, but, you know, I feel like maybe if we were getting a Fantastic Four trilogy, he was going to kind of build up throughout that and be a big villain. But seeing him show up in his own kind of Avengers movie as his first appearance does feel a little bit weird. Of course, he could show up in like a post-credit scene or something in the Fantastic Four film before we get to Doomsday, and there is a possibility of that, but it still feels very strange and inorganic to me to chuck Doctor Doom into this kind of Avengers scenario. I know, of course, in the comics he has incredible ties to all corners of the Marvel Universe, and especially Secret Wars. Like, without Secret Wars, like, that storyline doesn't really... It's not the same without Doom. But it does feel very strange to me to kind of jump straight into an Avengers movie with Doctor Doom without having him being introduced previously. And of course, the big question surrounding this version of Doctor Doom is this Victor Von Doom, or is this a evil Tony Stark variant from the multiverse who became Doctor Doom? Now, in all various forms I can see, you know, I think Variety and also I believe even on stage, they have said that this is Victor Von Doom. Like, Robert Downey Jr. is playing Victor Von Doom. So that, to me, is like, okay. I was kind of under the impression initially this was going to be a Tony Stark variant. That's why you have Robert Downey Jr. But if he's playing Victor Von Doom, that's an interesting choice. Like, that's an interesting casting choice. Not only because of the Iron Man connection, but just interesting that they're going to go with a Victor Von Doom character rather than a Tony Stark character. But also, I find it very strange that we're kind of, again, getting our first version of Victor Von Doom in the MCU as a Tony Stark lookalike, played by Robert Downey Jr. in an Avengers movie. It's very, very strange. So, you know, I personally felt like this was going to be a Tony Stark variant, like I say. But the fact that it's now Victor Von Doom kind of leaves me with more questions than answers. Because, of course, I'm talking about the Fantastic Four The First Steps movie. Like, if the Fantastic Four in their own universe has fought a version of Doctor Doom, is it this version? Is this version of Doctor Doom from the Fantastic Four universe? Is he from a different universe altogether? Of course, he's not from, like, the main Marvel MCU universe. So what's going on? Like, there's so many questions surrounding this version of Doctor Doom and Victor Von Doom that I just feel like we're all so confused just waiting for answers. And of course you do have the issue of casting someone like Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. Von Doom, of course, being a character of Romani heritage, it does feel a little bit strange to be casting Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. It does kind of feel like it's stripping away his character. It's very much stunt casting. Like, you know, this character who has such a rich history, especially with his kind of native home, that's such a big part of Doom's character, you know? So to have that kind of stripped away by casting Robert Downey Jr., again, it feels like they're wasting Doom in a way, and they're doing Doom wrong just for the sake of casting Robert Downey Jr. However, going over to the positive side, Robert Downey Jr. is a wonderful actor. If you've never seen him in anything outside of the MCU, do yourself a favor and just go watch some of his other movies, because he is a tremendous actor. So the idea of Robert Downey Jr. like playing a villain, like a big villain in the MCU, is exciting. He's a really cool choice. And, you know, you just have to watch something like recently, like last year he won an Oscar for Oppenheimer, and he's brilliant in that movie. He's absolutely bloody brilliant in that movie. So the idea of him playing Doctor Doom, in a way, is very, very exciting to me, because I'm just thinking, well, yeah, RDJ's going to knock it out of the park. He's brilliant. Of course he can do this. As strange as it is, as an actor, he could absolutely pull this off and could do something really interesting with it. I also think, as far as the MCU is concerned, this is a really interesting direction to take a version of Doctor Doom, because, of course, with it being someone who looks like Tony Stark, that's going to create some amazingly emotional moments for some of the characters in the MCU. Of course, people are talking about Spider-Man. Like, when Peter Parker comes face to face with this version of Doctor Doom, he's going to be going through it. You know, seeing the guy who, you know, trained him and inspired him and was basically almost a surrogate father figure in a way, seeing him now being the person he has to fight, that is an interesting dynamic. So there is a lot of different things going on with this that are both positive and negative, and it's just interesting to see exactly what they're going to do with this. But in terms of my overall thoughts, like, am I on the positive side? Am I on the negative side? I hate to be a cop-out. I am in the middle. Like, I'm very much in the middle. Because I wouldn't go as far to say that I'm, like, not excited for this, because a big part of me is, like, this new Avengers Doomsday movie sounds really cool. I'm more excited for this than I was for the Kang Dynasty. But that being said, I wouldn't say I'm not excited, more so than I am really just confused. Like, I'm just confused, and I'm awaiting more clearance and more answers on this whole topic, because Robert Downey Jr. coming back into the MCU, that's exciting. That's cool. Him playing a big villain, that's cool. But him playing Doctor Doom? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I feel like if they wanted to bring back Robert Downey Jr. as a big villain, why didn't they just make this like an evil Iron Man variant? Like, why are we doing Doom? Like, again, I know that Doom is obviously an incredibly important character when it comes to Secret Wars, but again, like, why bring back Robert Downey Jr. then? Like they could have just made this Doom and make it his whole story, but just cast an original actor in the role. Like, that's my whole thing. Like, when they announced in this whole announcement that Doom was coming in and he's going to be the main villain of Avengers 5 and 6, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that makes more sense than Kang ever did. But now it's the Robert Downey Jr. version. It just kind of makes me feel like, oh, is this the real Doom? Is this the proper Doom? Are we going to get another one post-Secret Wars who's going to be like a villain in the Fantastic Four movies? I don't know. Overall, though, I like this news. I think it's cool. I'm excited for this movie. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Really happy that the Russos are back. But again, I'm very confused about this version of Doom and how it's actually all going to play out. But what do you guys think? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Join the ramble and let me know what you think. Obviously, I know this has been a bit all over the place, this video. I've been very up and down about the whole thing, but it's just a big topic. And there's a lot to talk about. And for me personally, I'm so up and down about the whole subject entirely that I just kind of had to get my thoughts out on camera. But what do you think? Make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from me. And I hope to see you guys again next time.